John was born in a small town where dreams often felt out of reach. From a young age, he watched his parents work long hours at their modest jobs, returning home exhausted and with little energy left for anything beyond the necessities of life. Yet John carried a spark inside him that refused to be extinguished. He found solace in the pages of books borrowed from the local library, and in the visions he painted in his mind of a future where he could shape his own destiny. He didn't know it then, but that spark was the beginning of a journey that would teach him how to set goals, embrace challenges, and ultimately transform his life. As John entered middle school, he discovered his love for storytelling. He would stay up late, journal in a tattered notebook, and draft tales of heroes who overcame impossible odds. Through each story, he explored themes of resilience and purpose, writing until his eyes grew heavy. But when he tried to share his work with classmates, their feedback was perfunctory at best. Some laughed at his earnest prose, others shrugged and walked away. John felt the sting of rejection deeply, but he also recognized a crucial truth. Criticism would not dictate his path unless he allowed it to. Instead of shrinking back, he decided to learn from every word, searching for kernels of wisdom that could help him grow. High school brought new challenges. Academically, John stumbled in math and science, where formulas and experiments felt like codes written in an alien language. Socially, he hesitated to join clubs or sports teams, fearing he would fail or be judged. His notebooks filled with half-baked ideas about launching a blog, starting a youth writing group, or organizing community events. All these plans fizzled before they even began. Each unrealized idea weighed on him like a stone, but he refused to abandon his dreams entirely. Instead, he resolved to understand why his efforts fell short, believing that if he could identify the roots of his setbacks, he could finally start building toward his vision. One evening, as John sat in his room, surrounded by crumpled pages and fading hope, his older sister Emma knocked at the door and sat beside him. She spoke of her own struggles when she was his age, how she had chased goals without structure, diving headfirst into projects without a roadmap. She introduced him to a simple concept: effective goal setting begins with clarity. Instead of vague ambitions like becoming successful or happy, she suggested he define specific outcomes and timelines. That night, John rewrote his dreams into concrete statements: write and publish one short story by the end of the semester, improve his grade in algebra from C- to B+ in 3 months, and attend one community event each month to build connections. For the first time, his aspirations took shape. Energized by this newfound structure, John sought guidance from his teachers and mentors. He approached his English teacher, Mr. Harris, who agreed to review his short stories each week and provide constructive feedback. He asked his math tutor, Ms. Patel, to create a tailored study plan focused on foundational concepts and regular quizzes, and he reached out to the community center coordinator, volunteering to help organize events in exchange for the chance to meet new people. These commitments formed the pillars of his plan, each one tied to a date and a measurable target. He felt a surge of hope as his goals no longer floated in the realm of dreams but stood before him, clear and attainable. John quickly learned that setting goals was only half the battle. The real work lay in daily habits. He created a routine: wake up at 6, review yesterday's progress, dedicate an hour to math practice before school, write for 30 minutes after dinner, and reflect on lessons learned each night. He used a simple journal to track his achievements and obstacles, celebrating small victories, a chapter completed, a solved equation, and acknowledging setbacks without judgment. On weekends, he would review his goals, adjust timelines, and plan the coming week. This rhythm grounded him, transforming abstract objectives into daily actions. Slowly but surely, he began to see progress. His math grade crept up to a C, then a C+, and finally a B. His writing improved as critique refined his style, and he felt more confident at community events. Despite steady advancement, John's journey was far from smooth. Halfway through the semester, he faced a major setback. His laptop crashed, erasing weeks of writing and study materials. Frustration boiled over as he stared at the blank screen, feeling the weight of lost work. The goal he had set, publishing a story by the semester's end, seemed impossible now, and his math quizzes suffered as he scrambled to recover lost notes. For the first time, doubt crept in. He questioned whether the effort was worth the pain, whether his dreams were simply fantasies beyond his reach. Yet beneath the doubt, a quieter voice reminded him of the progress he had already made, and of the promise he had made to himself. Drawing on resilience he hadn't known he possessed, John regrouped. He recovered what he could from email drafts and paper backups, accepted help from friends who lent him their laptops, and redoubled his efforts. He realized that true progress often comes through recovery after failure. Instead of viewing the crash as a defeat, he reframed it as a test of his commitment. He extended his short story deadline by 2 weeks, communicated transparently with Mr. Harris, and asked for an extra math session to catch up. This willingness to adapt without abandoning his goals became a turning point, teaching him that flexibility and perseverance go hand in hand. Around the same time, John encountered another obstacle: stress. Balancing academics, writing, volunteering, and a part-time job at the cafe left him exhausted. His sleep suffered, relationships became strained, and motivation dipped. One afternoon, while halfway through a complex algebra problem, his mind went blank and tears welled up in his eyes. He realized that drive alone wasn't enough. He needed balance. He spoke with Ms. Patel about stress management techniques, practiced mindfulness exercises, and blocked out personal time for rest and hobbies. He enlisted his family's support, asking his parents to help with chores so he could focus on self-care. By acknowledging his limits and caring for his well-being, he built sustainable momentum rather than burning out. Months passed, and John's consistency paid off. His algebra grade rose to B+, and he finished his short story, which Mr. Harris helped him refine into a publishable piece. He submitted it to the school magazine, and to his delight, they accepted it. The thrill of seeing his name in print fueled his enthusiasm for future projects. At the community center, the event he helped organize drew a larger crowd than ever, and he connected with peers who shared his passions. With each success, his confidence grew, but he never lost sight of the process that had brought him here. Setting clear goals, breaking them into manageable tasks, seeking feedback, adapting to setbacks, and caring for his mental and physical health. Buoyed by these achievements, John set his sights on a new challenge: applying to a prestigious summer writing workshop. The workshop promised intense mentorship, collaboration with talented peers, and exposure to industry professionals. The application required a portfolio, recommendation letters, and an essay outlining his aspirations. Though daunting, John approached the task methodically. He gathered his best stories, asked Mr. Harris and a local author friend for endorsements, and crafted an essay highlighting his journey from uncertainty to purpose. He set internal deadlines to draft, revise, and polish each component, adhering closely to his journaled plan. As the application deadline approached, John felt the familiar mix of excitement and nerves. He reviewed every detail, practiced mindfulness to manage anxiety, and leaned on his support network for encouragement. When at last he clicked submit, relief and pride washed over him. Weeks later, he received an acceptance letter offering a scholarship. The validation was thrilling, but more importantly, it confirmed what he already knew. He was capable of achieving the goals he set for himself. The boy who once doubted his abilities now stood ready to learn from masters of his craft, confident in his capacity to grow. In the workshop that summer, John immersed himself in writing, collaboration, and critique. He absorbed lessons about narrative structure, character development, and the business of publishing. He forged friendships with fellow writers who became accountability partners, and he mentored incoming participants, sharing the strategies that had shaped his path. The workshop culminated in a public reading where John presented a new short story, receiving enthusiastic applause. In that moment, he realized he had transformed not only his skills, but his identity. No longer a timid dreamer, he was a goal-oriented creator forging his own path. Returning home, John carried more than memories. He carried a system. He continued to set specific objectives, writing a novel draft in 6 months, building an online portfolio, and reaching out to literary agents. he applied the same techniques of clarity, structure, feedback, and adaptability. His family, once skeptical of his ambitions, marveled at his growth. Friends began to approach him for advice on their own goals, and he gladly shared the lessons he had learned. Break down dreams into actionable steps, celebrate small wins, learn from failures, and maintain balance. Years later, John published his first novella, which garnered critical praise. He thanked the mentors and experiences that shaped him, but he credited his success to the foundational habit of setting and pursuing